Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I've never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Toadstool Sports. Monday, January 5th. We had a huge day on the show yesterday. I mean, we're continuing where we left off at the end of 2025, I guess, because the beginning of 2026 has been good as well. Yesterday was awesome, obviously. 3-0 with the NFL plays, all of them outright winners. You could have gotten at least 4 on all of them. It didn't even matter, though, obviously, because they all won outright. New Orleans got a little bit dicey, but I mean, when you have a situation where Atlanta only scores 19 points or whatever it was, it's pretty unlikely they're going to really cover that number most of the time, although we needed a backdoor cover at the end of that. A late touchdown from New Orleans after Shock almost shocked us by throwing a pick, I think, when they were down. I think they were down 2 when he threw a pick, and then they were down 9, and then they did get the touchdown to cut it back to 2. So we were able to get the cover. Actually, that one didn't outright win. What am I saying? Why did I say they all won outright? No, New Orleans did not win outright, but they covered. Detroit, no sweat. They won outright. That line was up to about 4 as well. Detroit almost blew it. They had a 16-0 lead going into the fourth quarter. I'm still telling you, this Bears team is not that good. And I don't know how the Bears keep doing what they're doing. They got 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions really late to tie the game. And then Detroit won anyway with a field goal. They got into makeable field goal range. I kind of questioned Dan Campbell's play calling at the end of that, because usually he's going to be like the most aggressive dude, and it seemed like he kind of took his foot off the gas at the end when they had some time to run some more plays. And I'm thinking, well, get a little bit closer, like make this a more makeable field goal. Like, we're in Chicago, it's cold, like you're looking at like a 40-yard field goal here. Like, let's run the ball a couple more times. You know, well, I think they had 2 timeouts left at the time. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. It seemed like they just stopped and they were like, let's just set up the field goal here, take the rest of the time off the clock. I don't know. It seemed a little bit odd, but whatever. Bates made the field goal, so that was good enough. Plus, you know me with my frustrations with Chicago, so I was happy about that. And then we got the win with the Steelers as well. I didn't see how the game went, although I know they were losing early, and then I know I think didn't give up another touchdown. After they gave up a touchdown early in the game, I think they didn't even give up another one until late in the game. And it did wind up coming down to Baltimore attempting a 40-something yard field goal to try to win the game by 1 point late. But, of course, we were going to cover regardless. But the field goal missed, and Pittsburgh has now made the playoffs. Oh, and with New Orleans' loss, I apologize for the Tampa Bay fans. With New Orleans' loss, yeah, that means Carolina is in the playoffs. And, they're the team everybody's going to make fun of, man. So, I don't know. Like, I wanted to take Carolina just on instinct, basically, in the first game, just because they're that team that everybody's like, oh, everybody wants to play this team. It's going to be so easy. But, unfortunately, they drew the Rams, and the Rams already lost at Carolina once, so I think the Rams won't take them lightly, but I don't know. I mean, it still might make sense to take Carolina in that game. I don't know, but it's a very unfortunate draw, I think, from a handicapping perspective. Like, I'd rather have Carolina catching some team that didn't play them in Carolina this year, probably, or some team that annihilated them that will think it's going to be easy again. That would be awesome, but whatever. So Pittsburgh won. Congratulations to them. That line was up to 4.5 at game time. With these NFL plays, I should keep clarifying that, like, you can pretty much wait up until game time with most of the NFL stuff that I do because I'm fading the public in most cases, especially that night game. You pretty much knew the public was going to be on the Ravens side, even though it looked like some of the professionals kind of were as well. But I'm like, I liked the spot. And, yeah, again, when the public comes in, the NFL is like the only sport where the public can actually affect the lines at all. So usually, if you're fading the public, you can usually get the best number like close to game time. So just something to keep in mind. Could have had like a little bit more value on some of those numbers. College basketball was good at 2-0. Southern Illinois outright win there. I think it was a wire-to-wire cover for them probably. I was only briefly checking the score on that one, so I didn't see, but like every time I looked, they were like winning by a small margin. I'm like, okay, they won the game by 1. All right, it was a low-scoring game. Seemed like it went our way. And then St. Mary's, maybe we got a little lucky on that one. They started out slow. They were actually losing the game early in the second half, and they were still not covering later in the game. Like, they hadn't been winning by margin until really late in the game. And Seattle didn't score for the last, 2 minutes of the game, and St. Mary's didn't take their foot off the gas, and they just kept scoring, and they wound up winning by 17, but the game was a little bit closer than that, although if you look at the stat sheet, I don't know how St. Mary's didn't even, I don't know how the game was even close in the middle of the second half, because St. Mary's, it looked like they should have won way more easily. The only real outlier in the game was that Seattle had very few turnovers, 4 or 5 turnovers, but St. Mary's only had 9, so very, very low turnover rate in the game completely on both sides. So I don't know. That was a little bit weird. St. Mary's absolutely dominated the rebounds in the game. So I don't know how they didn't run away with that game more easily than they did. Both teams were pretty hot shooting in the game. But St. Mary's wound up getting the cover, even if you got the worst numbers, because that number was gone right after I gave it out on the show, 10.5. It was already 12. But I guess lucky for us, they covered every one of those numbers. Maybe a little bit dicey, man, to take St. Mary's. We did lose. The one loss was the hockey play. And, of course, my second favorite hockey play did win, Florida. Wait, yeah, it was Florida, right? I think it was. Yeah, Florida beat the Avs, I think, right? That was my second favorite play. And the Devils did not get it done for us. They lost 3-1. The game was fairly close statistically. They got slightly outplayed in the game, and they lost. And then we won by Nets whispering on the NBA game. Easy win, blowout, outright win for the Nets. So we got that one right against Denver, I believe, right? Against a Jokic-less Denver team. So we'll move on to today. Today, it's a small board, but I got a decent-sized card today. I'm going to have one college play, college basketball, because college football doesn't resume. I think it's a Wednesday. One hockey play that I like quite a bit, and then NBA 3 plays, and there's one that is close to being a play as well. I like the NBA board today a lot, and hopefully we can win on the NBA because of it. So we'll get into it. Tyson, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Kyle, what's up? Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm on the side that is rigged, yeah. The Steelers scored 26 in the second half. Did they? Because I know they were down 7-0, but then the next time I checked the score, because I was on Jules' Gray Pill show, and I didn't have the game on over here. And the next time I checked the score, Pittsburgh was winning 13-10 or something. So I was like, okay. So I don't know. It didn't seem like they went on. It didn't seem like they were down by that margin, except for when they were down 7-0. Although I could be wrong. St. Mary's, I wouldn't say it was a huge comeback. I think, what were they losing by, 4, 6? I mean, they had to go on a huge run to cover, but Yeah, St. Mary's definitely the better coached team there. They still have, what's his name? Randy Bennett, I think is his coach. Been there a long time. He knows what he's doing. Very well coached St. Mary's team. Although the discipline was good on both sides in that game. Like very few turnovers. No. I don't know. I don't think I saw what the halftime score was, but somebody in the chat said it was 7-0 Ravens towards the beginning of the game. And then after the show was done, I checked the score and it was like 13-10. Or maybe it was still during the show. So I don't know. I don't think they had 0 at the half. I can look. Maybe I'm wrong. I usually have to look at the box scores. I want to look at the box scores eventually just so I can see how the game really played out. Baltimore was winning 10-3 at the half. And then Pittsburgh was winning 13-10 at the end of the third quarter. So that's the score that I saw. So, yeah, okay. So Pittsburgh was losing by that margin for the entire first half, but Baltimore didn't really score a ton. So that's how it played out. All right. We'll get into today. Today we do have some college basketball. We have a lot of smaller conference games. My play is actually in one of the bigger games, and you probably know what it is already. It is actually probably the biggest. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could argue it's either the biggest or the second biggest game. I think it might be the better of the two, the more competitive of the two. We do have Columbia and Cornell starting early-ish at 5 p.m. Eastern for whatever reason, and this is the Ivy League beginning. The Ivy League has had no conference play yet. So the Ivy, they do weird things, man, and they didn't have a conference tournament for a while either, where now they have a 4-team tournament to decide the winner of the conference at the end instead of just the regular season winner, so that there's some additional competition there. Sometimes it pisses me off, the conference tournaments, because chaos can ensue, and the best team a lot of times won't represent the conference in the actual tournament. But if you look at this, the records for these two teams here, Columbia's 11-3, Cornell is 7-6, but you know what I'm about to say. Cornell is actually the favorite in this game, so it's another one of those situations where you get to this point in the season, basically all you've had is non-conference play so far, and teams can have had wide varieties of like how difficult their out-of-conference schedule was, and I think it's pretty obvious that Columbia's was easier than Cornell's was, and again, that was the case last year too, and then Columbia looked similar to this last year. They had a really good record going into conference play, and then they completely fell apart. So I don't know if that's going to happen again this year, but the odds makers are telling you that actually Columbia is only like the slightly better team, basically. Cornell is a 2.5-point favorite. There's no real situation to look at here. I don't think both teams, just beat a non-Division I team or something. So I would lean to Cornell just because it looks like the line just looks very sketchy. Like it looks way too easy to take the team with the better record as the underdog. I think Cornell, to me, Cornell might even be the better team. Like I'm not sold on Columbia at this point at all because when have they ever done anything? Cornell is a 2-point favorite here, up from 1. 83% of the tickets, 98% of the cash on Cornell. I don't think this is really a game getting a lot of public action, even though it is kind of this isolated early game where if people can't help themselves, if they have no control, maybe they'll jump in and play this game. But I think most of what we're seeing here in the market is probably more so professional money there, and I do not disagree. I would lean to Cornell. Nebraska and Ohio State. This is going to be my play. If you want me to give out the play right away, I'm going to do it right now. Nebraska is at number 13 in the country. Ohio State, unranked, but Ohio State is, I think Ken Baum has them somewhere in like the 30s ranking-wise. Like this is an Ohio State team that could definitely make the tournament this year. Let's just put it that way. Right now they're looking like a bubble team. I don't know if the bubble boy dropped though, but if I were to guess right now, I would guess Ohio State will make the tournament this year, but we will see. They have a little bit of an edge in that they're a known program, so some of these name programs just sneak in even when they maybe shouldn't. Although I think Ohio State might be good enough to get in, but this game's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Fox Sports 1. You probably already know what I'm going to do in this game. I'm going to lay it with Ohio State, -2.5. I think you might have to lay 3 on this. might concern me a little bit because, yes, Nebraska is the better team, so you're really relying on situation plus Ohio State's home court advantage here, but I think Ohio State gets it done. I know I've gotten caught a couple of times recently laying points where my favorite won and didn't cover. So if you want to go money line, you can, but the money line's probably about minus 150 on this. I still wouldn't say no to doing that because I think Ohio State's going to get the thing done here. Now, of course, it's one of these games. I always talk about this in basketball especially, but in football as well, but even more so in basketball because there are so many more games. What is this game? This game is one of those situations where you have a home team or you have an unranked team, that's favored over a ranked team. So the odds makers are telling you not to trust the rankings makers that much. The rankings makers might have this a little bit wrong, or at least the disparity that you would think would be there between these two teams is not what it looks like. And the public is just going to come in on Nebraska. Like, why wouldn't they? They're an undefeated team. They're ranked. They just beat Michigan State. And luckily, us plus 2.5 players got Michigan State on that one still. Close call, but that's exactly why I'm going to fade Nebraska in this game for all those reasons. It looks way too easy to take the points with them. Like, why wouldn't you? Again, as an undefeated team, I'm still not sold on them. I know I talked about their out of conference schedule being mediocre, moderate difficulty, let's say. I hadn't been that impressed by much of what they did, except they did beat me when I faded them with Illinois, and they somehow pulled off that big upset. Illinois was a big favorite in that one. Nebraska continues to do what they do, but now they're coming off beating Michigan State, man. That was a huge win for Nebraska. They're 3-0 in conference. They beat one of the elite programs in the Big Ten. That's huge for a program like Nebraska that usually isn't this good. That's a massive win, man. And you want to talk about elite programs in basketball. Who do they play next in 5 days? They play Indiana, which I think is on Saturday. That's a huge win, even if a huge game, even if Indiana is maybe not as good this year as they usually are. Or maybe the last couple of years are not really as good, but that's still Indiana, man. That's the Hoosiers. You're going to get up for a game like that. I could see them overlooking Ohio State here, man. Ohio State, not exactly as... They're not a program that's as historically renowned in basketball as Indiana is. Let's just put it that way. So I think this is a sandwich spot, actually, but at the very least, I think this is a letdown spot. And yes, I know Nebraska did win that road game at Illinois, but that was their only road game so far. So it is one game, so you can't really draw that much from it. Maybe an outlier. Now they have another true road game here. Might be a little bit difficult. This Ohio State team is still pretty decent, and Ohio State didn't play well in their last game. I think they might have been looking ahead, or they just thought they were going to easily beat Rutgers. Rutgers is bad, and Ohio State went in there. Obviously, Ohio State was the favorite, and I don't know if they covered or not. They won by 7, but this game was a bit close for comfort, and when a favorite has a close game like that against a team they should beat more easily, I keep talking about that situation too. I think the favorite usually realizes that. They refocus. They get a little bit of a scare. Rutgers was kind of in that game late in the game. It was like a 2-possession game pretty late in that game. So I think Ohio State, they didn't play their best. They got a little bit scared. I think they were already looking ahead to this game. Now they're going to play this game. I think they're going to show up for this, man. And I kind of like this even better because of the Illinois common opponent here. People are going to look at that as well. Oh, no. Ohio State lost to Illinois, which that was a loss for us on the show as well. So maybe I shouldn't be playing this one, but I am. People are going to see that, Ohio State lost at home to Illinois. Nebraska beat Illinois on the road. So how could Nebraska not only cover this, but win the game outright, right? Like, that's going to be the public's sentiment on this. Like, how are we getting points here? Like, it looks almost like a steal. Nothing is that easy. Ohio State is the play. That's my only college basketball play today. The number is up to 3. I'm hoping that maybe some take back happens. I don't really understand the percentages right now. 58% of the tickets and 91% of the cash on Nebraska. I'm going with my situational analysis and my number read as far as what number do the books put this out at, although they put it out at 1 apparently. And I think Ohio State immediately got hammered up, but what I am kind of concerned about is that if we see the percentages reflecting take back on Nebraska, maybe that was a false move. But then again, absolutely do not think that the professional money is going to be on Nebraska in this game. I just don't. Like, I know how these guys think. I mean, I like to consider myself to be one of them, so I think they're going to think about this game the same way that I do. So I think Ohio State is the play there. That's hopefully you can get a decent number on that. That is the one play. If you want me to talk about any of these other games, I will. Most of these games are pretty uninteresting, though, really. We do have Oregon at Rutgers, and of course, as I just mentioned, Rutgers did just play Ohio State pretty close, so maybe they'll be a little bit out of gas here. Oregon coming into this off of a win at Maryland, so now they're adjusted to the Eastern time zone. They come back and they play Ohio State, Nebraska, Michigan State after this, though. Actually, the Nebraska game's a road game. The other ones are at home. So maybe you got to worry a little bit about a look ahead and that Oregon just still won't take Rutgers that seriously. That would kind of be the one concern there, and that Oregon's just not that familiar with that venue either. I do think I would probably lay it if I was going to play this game because Rutgers just might not have as great an effort this time because they did put up a fight against Ohio State. Oregon's a 6-point favorite here. We don't see the percentages yet, but Oregon, they've been one of the worst teams against the spread this year, though, and they don't win by margin that easily, and it's a fairly low total at 142, so those would have me a little bit concerned. By the way, the total in the Nebraska-Ohio State games in the mid-150s, and one thing I forgot to mention is Ohio State is sort of a mid-tempo team, maybe a little bit on the slower side. Nebraska likes to play really fast, but if Ohio State could slow this thing down a little bit, that hopefully will frustrate Nebraska as well. The total's right there up in the middle. It is expected to be a little bit of a faster-paced game because both teams are not really slow, at least. But the other thing I like about that game is Ohio State is pretty low in Ken Palm's luck index, 224, and Nebraska is quite high. He does have Nebraska and Ohio State separated by 17 ranking spots, but he has Nebraska 41st in luck. So he's telling you Nebraska has overperformed so far. And yes, I do know Nebraska is technically the better defense getting points. I understand that, but we're basically just asking Ohio State to win the game here in a spot that I think is favorable to them. So that is what we're doing in that one. All right. These other games, I mean, really, most of these other games are not that interesting to me. I mean, Milwaukee is playing Green Bay. I looked at the scheduling spot for this, and Milwaukee did just play a big game against Wright State. Wright State is up at the top of the horizon right now, sitting with one loss in conference. Wright State's looking like a pretty competitive team in this conference right now, and Milwaukee, as an underdog on the road, played them to within 6. Now they're playing a third straight road game, so this does look a little bit difficult. And they do have Northern Kentucky up next, and they've been pretty good overall as well. So Milwaukee might overlook this Doug Gottlieb-led Green Bay team, Doug Gottlieb coached Green Bay team that's been way up and down. I don't really want Green Bay either here, though, even though I think they will show up for the game, but they pulled off an upset of IPFW on the road in their last game where they absolutely crushed them. It was pretty much dominant in that game, surprisingly, because Green Bay, they're very, very hard to predict this year, man. Milwaukee is up to a 2.5-point favorite in that game. I would probably have a tendency to slightly still lean to Green Bay in that one, but I think both teams are in bad spots there, so I do not want to touch that one. There were a couple other games that are like those games where you have a misleading spread based on what the team's records are. Like, I think one of them is East Texas A&M and New Orleans. I think it was kind of the big one. Yeah, where New Orleans is 4-10 and East Texas A&M is 6-9, but New Orleans is already the better. They already have the better record in this conference, so obviously New Orleans must have played the more difficult out-of-conference schedule. Although they actually did, I think they won against TCU in one of those difficult games, but they're definitely the better team to the point where they're an 8.5-point favorite in this one. So this is another one of those games you have a very misleading line in this one. I didn't see a whole lot as far as the schedule is concerned that would lead me to lean one way or the other here. So I think based on how misleading that number looks, I think I would lay the points in that one with New Orleans. They're like pretty obviously the better team. That's kind of been known all year. East Texas A&M is not good here in the Southland Conference. In New Orleans, they've been decent at times, like over the last few years. And last year, their whole season got derailed because they had guys that were point shaving and throwing games because they were betting. They were tanking, but that was because they were betting against themselves. So they had a scandal, New Orleans did. So New Orleans is past that now, so they should be a better team this year. So yeah, I would lay the points with New Orleans in that one if I was going to play that one. And then we do have one other Big Ten game here to finish off this slate. Again, if you want me to talk about any of the rest of these games, I will. But again, I just don't really have a whole lot of interest in most of these games. I mean, we got SWAC, Ivy, Horizon. There is a little bit of Colonial action in here as well. I still call it the Colonial. Southland, and I think that's about it today. And then, yes, we do have the other huge Big Ten game is a ranked versus ranked matchup. Number 24, USC, and number 9, Michigan State at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. The late game, the public might get involved in this one, trying to get some of their money back from earlier, and also because it's a game between two ranked teams. Now, USC just got drilled by Michigan. Not really that surprising, but maybe it means USC they're not on the level of these like upper echelon teams, man, which I think Michigan State might be one of those teams. I think they are probably legitimately a top 10 team. Where does KenPom? No, KenPom has them 15th now, but they are still considerably better than USC. For USC, though, getting drilled by their last opponent, like nobody wants to lose by 30, so maybe they will show up for this, although it is difficult to do the Michigan back-to-back, if you want to call it that, not on back-to-back days, but playing both Michigan schools on the road, one game after the other is not that easy to do, but maybe they will bounce back from getting blown out like that. And I do think the spot is probably worse for Michigan State because they did just get locked into that battle against Nebraska and only lost by 2. That was a big game. So I could potentially see them maybe being the team that's in the worst spot here. So I guess if you forced me to pick a side here, I guess I would lean to USC plus the points here. Not very interested in it, though. The money seems to be somewhat agreeing with that early on. Well, early on, Michigan State moved up to an 11-point favorite, but now we see 56% of the tickets on them, 95% of the cash coming back on USC here. And this is the battle of the, what do we want to call it? The battle of the ancient warriors. It's the Trojans versus the Spartans. So the money does look like it is coming back on the USC side. And one issue here is that this is a pacing contrast type of game where USC wants to go fast, Michigan State wants to go slow. They probably will be able to effectively slow this pace down, but that also does mean that it might be a little bit more difficult for Michigan State to win by margin if there are fewer points scored in the game. 151 is the total, so I think the odds makers kind of had to bridge the gap between a fast-paced and a slow-paced team in this one. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have other thoughts on that, but those are my thoughts on that game. Saab, what's up, man? Thank you, sir. Yes, great day today. You're on Utah and the Bulls. Interesting. This Saab guy, man, he's definitely spying on me. We were together on the Nets yesterday. Let's get into hockey here, man. I have one play in hockey. You probably know what it is. It's this first game up here. Here we go. I am in agreement with Saab on this. What else is new? Utah is my one hockey play here. The Mammoth. At the Rangers. I looked at this and I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good spot. A lot of things are coming into line here for a Utah play here. Utah is coming off a loss, first of all, against a pretty decent New Jersey team, but nobody wants to lose 4-1, man. So I think they're going to bounce back from that. They aren't playing a really tightly packed schedule here. They've had days off in between these games, so I'm fine with that. And they're staying in the New York area. Utah's been in the New York area since Thursday, so they're really not having to do a lot of travel here. So I like that. And it's actually the Rangers that are doing way more travel here. So I think Utah, they're just sitting up here pissed off and ready to go. I think they're going to be focused on this. And of course, as I always point out with Ranger home games, they're not good at home. 5-10-3 at home, that's pretty ugly. The Mammoth are 10-13-2 away, 10-13-2 away from home. They're not much worse on the road than they are at home. They don't really have a huge home-road dichotomy. The Rangers obviously do have a massive one still, where they've been a little bit better at home as of late, but they're still a bad home team. Now, the Rangers, couple all that with how bad the spot is for the Rangers here. The Rangers, as we already knew, they're coming off looking really good in the Winter Classic in Florida. The Rangers, in a highly publicized game, they stomped Florida 5-1. And I told you Florida would be angry about that yesterday, but I also think the Rangers are now in a letdown spot. Because where do you go from here after you do that? Huge win over the returning champs in the Winter Classic in Miami. Still doesn't sound right. The Rangers get that huge win 5-1. And again, when you win 5-1, I'm probably going to be looking to fade you in the next game. If you look at what happened in this game, yeah, I mean, there was an empty netter at the end. Florida actually outshot the Rangers by 17, and they had 18 more hits as well, though the Rangers won the faceoff battle. But there were some indicators that Florida was somewhat of the better team in the game, although Florida is the better team overall, but Florida, you could argue, well, they were throwing up a bunch of shots because they were down 3-0. Yeah, that is true as well, but that wasn't until like the middle of the second period. So there are some indicators that the Rangers were not exactly as good as they looked in the game. And now, add on top of that, what else are the Rangers doing here? They're returning home from a road trip. After Christmas, they started this road trip on the 27th, although they were in New York for that one, so okay. But they've still been on the road for a week, even if you don't include that. They went to Carolina, played them into overtime, went to Washington, and then they went down to Florida, played the Winter Classic, had a huge win in that game, and now they're returning home from that. And yes, I know they have 2 days off, but I talk about how days off don't really help you, I don't think, when you're returning home, because I think it just kind of exacerbates the distraction a lot of times. So I always talk about it when a team returns home from a road trip, they can get distracted because they're coming back home. They have stuff that hasn't been getting done around the house that the men need to get done. It could be a distraction. You know, your wives and children distract you. Those annoying bitches, they can distract you. So, you know, a lot of things coming into play. And if you have a couple of days off, especially coming off of a win like that, I think you're kind of thinking about that win, getting a little bit overconfident, and you're just, I think, settling back in at home and not focusing on hockey. Utah's not exactly a team that's really going to draw your focus right now. They've been mediocre. They've been bad, really, for a while. And then Buffalo is their next opponent. And we know Buffalo's been really, really hot, even though their streak came to an end. And I think we had that streak-busting game, I believe, as a win on the show. So I think the Rangers might look ahead to Buffalo, man. And then they do have Boston after that. It's an original six matchup there at the very least. Buffalo at least is I guess, an in-state rival-ish, sort of. So, yeah, I think it's a horrible spot for the Rangers. A lot of things coming into play in that one. We will be on the Mammoth. The Rangers are down from -125 to -110. Looks like reverse line movement here. Public is playing the Rangers. They like what they saw out of the Rangers in the Winter Classic. The Rangers have the better overall record right now, so why wouldn't you, right? 73% of the tickets on them. It looks so easy to take them, especially now that the line on them is less than home ice now. It looks so easy to play the Rangers. I'm telling you, Utah's the side. 96% of the cash on Utah. I don't actually think they're the better team here, so I wish there was a little bit more line value, but I think as long as you're getting pretty much just a pick the winner price here, or better than -110 especially, I think it makes sense. It's a great spot to take them. Utah is the play. Saab and I are in agreement here. The net straight. I thought you lost your streak. No, I'm trying to. That's your job. Yeah, you're the Toad spy. I think you're insane if you're actually trying to play on every single Nets game. Like, even if you're good at predicting their games, I still think that's crazy. Like, you don't want to force yourself to have to do that every game when it's I don't know, like a game that you just don't really have many angles to work with and whatever. I can't do that. Correct. Utah, yes. Way less travel for Utah here. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. You changed it to the Wizards. Why? Didn't I disagree with the Wizards? I don't know. I thought I disagreed with it. I don't know. I don't remember what my thoughts were. I know I had no real thoughts on that game, though. Okay. that was the game that I recommended not playing. Yeah, I did not have any good feeling about that game. No era of good feelings. All right, we have Anaheim and Washington. I think both of these teams are actually in focus spots here. Anaheim is coming off a pretty ugly loss, although it was to Minnesota. Minnesota's been hot. Anaheim's on a 5-game losing streak, but now they have 2 days off, and they get to start a road trip. So I think this is a good thing. I talk about this all the time. When a team is on a losing streak, having a break can help because it can disrupt that losing momentum. Coming off a loss by 3 goals at home also tends to be a positive spot in hockey because you get more focus. You want to bounce back from that. And starting a road trip, usually you're focused because you want to get the road trip off on the right foot. So a lot of things that are looking like a positive spot for Anaheim here, in my opinion. Although, yes, they are having to travel to the East Coast, but that's not that difficult for a West Coast team to travel east and play at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's like they're playing at 4 p.m. their time. Totally fine. But also, they've probably already gotten out there and adjusted, whatever. However, I think Washington is also in a pretty good bounce-back spot. They just lost to Chicago. Pretty ugly loss. They've lost 2 in a row. They're staying at home here. I expect them to show up as well, even though they do have Dallas next. But when you're losing like this, you don't really overlook your next opponent, in my opinion. So I think both teams are in decent spots here. If you forced me to pick a side, I probably would say Anaheim is in this slightly more positive spot because you do still have to worry that Washington does have Dallas looming on the horizon here. 78% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Anaheim. Washington down from -150 to -145 on the money line. So those are my thoughts on that game. Detroit is at Ottawa. Detroit is coming off losing both games in the home and home to Pittsburgh, including losing at home 4-1. That's probably got to piss them off, man. So I kind of expect that they're going to show up for this game, even though it is kind of a weird single game travel spot. They don't have another game for 3 days. And when you're losing like this, sometimes it's good to just leave home for a game, focus on that game, get away from it all. So I don't think the Red Wings are in a bad spot here. For the Senators here, they're staying at home. They have won 2 games in a row. They beat Washington. Nice win. It broke their loss streak. They actually didn't suffer a letdown, and they beat Winnipeg in the next game. Not a win that's really going to make you overconfident or anything like that. So I don't really see this being a horrible spot for Ottawa, but they're the team that looks better in the last couple of games. So I think Detroit is probably the way I would lean here. Just maybe thinking maybe you get a little bit of value going that way just based on recency bias. Even though Ottawa is staying at home, I don't really think they're going to overlook Detroit, though. So this obviously is not one I'm that interested in. The money seems to agree with Detroit, though, even though Ottawa did go up from -148 to -151 on the money line. 86% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on them, so they look public with less of the actual money on them. So the market seems to agree with me on these ones so far. Seattle at Calgary. This is one ugly game here. 2 teams that are just not good. Seattle probably actually the worst of the 2 teams at this point. Seattle's been off for a couple of days. Shouldn't be a horrible spot for them. They just beat Vancouver in a shootout. Don't think they'll be in a letdown spot. I don't know if they're really going to look ahead to Boston either. I wouldn't really imagine that they would. When you're Seattle like this, I don't know. I mean, they do have an okay record, so I don't know. But I just don't see them really not showing up for this game for any particular reason. Calgary just lost at home to Nashville. That did break a win streak for them. I think they were kind of in a letdown spot at that point because they'd beaten Edmonton, Boston, and Philadelphia all in a row. Yeah, I mean, they might have overlooked Nashville a little bit, although I don't think Calgary's good either. Calgary took the loss. They are staying at home. They did have a couple of days off before that game, and they've had another day off after that game, so they're pretty well rested here. So I don't think it's a horrible spot for Calgary. So this game, I don't have a good read on this. I guess, lean to Calgary. It does look like that's where the money is. Calgary, odds makers are telling you Calgary is actually the better team as well, so that's what I said. The line might look a little bit suspicious because why is the team with the somewhat worse record laying a favorite price like this, right? So that is something to consider as well. Calgary up from -155 to -157. 72% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Calgary. So I agree with the money in that one slightly, but that's the weakest of all of those so far, I would say. you played Ravens to win it all. Everything stays in the family. What are we talking? We're talking about incest. What are we talking about here? Wait, when did you make your Ravens bet? Because I didn't think it was a horrible call. Like the Ravens, dude, they're a good team with a lot of talent. It's just that this season nothing came together for them. Jackson got hurt, and then it looked like he wasn't himself. Like I don't know, like mentally, physically, I don't know what the deal was with him, but that was why I gave out the Steelers as a play yesterday. Part of the reason why. I mean, I liked how the spot set up too, though, based on what the teams did the previous week. So yeah, Ravens. Prior to the season, I said the Ravens were gonna win the Super Bowl prior to the season, but of course the entire season got derailed by the injury, and then yeah, I didn't expect Lamar Jackson to look like he just didn't even want to be out there on the field anymore. So their entire season again got totally derailed. Harbaugh, I don't know, man. His run in Baltimore might be coming to an end, man. I don't think he's good, to be honest. Everybody thought he was good for a long time. Maybe something changed. I don't know. Just something going on with that team that's absolutely not right. And right now his brother is the much better coach in the NFL with Jim Harbaugh. And not just because the Chargers are indeed in the playoffs this year. Playoffs? What? Minnesota at the Kings is the last game here. And this, I believe, is a second matchup between these two teams in a row. Yes, Minnesota lost at the Kings on Saturday, 5-4 in a shootout. So I don't really know if there's much of a zigzag opportunity here other than if you want to do a Jeffrey and look for an under in this game because the other game was very high scoring. You know, I don't really have a real good reason to say no to that. I don't have a feel for the total really, but as far as the side, I don't know about zigzagging it because yeah, one of the teams won, LA won, but they won in a shootout. Although you could argue, well, Minnesota's the better team and losing at the Kings. The Kings are just not a very good home team. Maybe it should be a spot where Minnesota does zigzag this thing and bounce back. They don't really have anything bigger upcoming. I don't think the Kings are going to overlook Minnesota, even though they did just beat them. It's still a big game against a big opponent. And they only play Jose. They only play Jose, this guy Jose, my former co-host. They play him next. No, they play San Jose next. Kings are still not good at home, though. Something to keep in mind. A little bit better, I guess, recently. 6-9-4 at home. Still pretty bad, though. And Minnesota's 12-6-3 on the road. They've been one of the better road teams in hockey. The line has moved on Minnesota, flipping them from +103 to -117. I don't know what the line was on them in the first game. I presume they were a favorite, but I don't know by how much. Maybe it was more than this. So there might be some value there because they lost the previous game. 89% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Minnesota. But because Minnesota is the better team and they did lose the first of these two matchups here, probably my feeling would be, yeah, they will make the adjustments here. So I probably would lean to Minnesota in this one, but no real strong opinion there. NBA, we have, I think, 8 games here, and I have opinions on 4 of these games. I have pretty strong opinions, and I'm going to give out a play on 3 of the 4. And hopefully the bubble boy, which I got to get that drop, man. Hopefully my bubble boy today is not a bubble burst. Hopefully they don't win while one of my other plays loses. But that's the name of the game, man. You got to narrow down your card. You got to figure out where to end your card. And then if you're good at this, you will have games that you leave off your card that you're still correct about. But you want more of the stuff on your card to win than it doesn't, of course. And yesterday was a huge day, obviously, 6-1. But I want to keep having winning days, man. That's the goal. We do have probably the biggest game of the day is Knicks Pistons at 7 p.m. on Peacock. This game is not one of the games that I'm very interested in. I think I actually disagreed with the market in this one. The Knicks are coming off a pretty ugly loss at home to Philadelphia. Philadelphia beat them 130-119. The Knicks giving up 130-plus points. Yeah, I think the Knicks are probably going to be in a bounce-back spot here, man. Maybe they were even looking ahead to Detroit already, but I think it might be good for them to just get out of home, focus on a game here. I know they're playing a lot of games in quick succession here, though. 3 games in 4 days, although with the first 2 of those being at home, that makes it a little bit easier, but also the fact they got swept in the homestand were ugly in both games. going out on the road might help them, man, and help them refocus here. As far as Detroit is concerned, they just beat Cleveland. So I think they might be in a little bit of the worst spot here. And that was yesterday. Although they're not that much less rested than the Knicks are because the Knicks have played a pretty tight schedule, even though the Knicks didn't play yesterday. Detroit had a couple of days off prior to yesterday, so I don't know if they're going to be totally tired, but they won at Cleveland yesterday. And I told you I liked Detroit in that game yesterday, too. I believe they won outright as an underdog. I thought the spot was better for Detroit in that game, even though it was one of those lines that looked very misleading, like why is Cleveland a favorite over Detroit, whatever. Detroit got the win as a dog. Now, they're not going to overlook the Knicks, but I just think that because they're coming off a big win as an underdog, it's a back-to-back. The Knicks are coming off a couple of really ugly losses. I think the only way that I could look at this game would be towards the Knicks, but the money is disagreeing with me on it. The Knicks are up to a 2.5-point favorite. I didn't really see anything in the injury report that indicated anything going on here, like as far as this line being like weird looking. Like, yes, it is weird looking. 54% of the tickets are on the Knicks, 61% of the cash on the Pistons. But how could the public be on the Knicks in this game, even though I know the Knicks are good? Everybody pretty much knows they're good, but Detroit has the better record and they're at home. So you got to think the public would still favor Detroit in this game, right, as far as where they were going to be putting their money in this game. So to me, it looks like a weird, like misleading line. Like, why would the Knicks be favored on the road? The odds makers are pretty much telling you the Knicks are the better team. Although the Knicks haven't been that good on the road, so something to keep in mind. They're 7-8 on the road. Detroit's been good at home, 12-3 at home. But if one team is going to be able to beat them at home, it should be a team like the Knicks. It's actually a better team than Detroit. Yeah, and like I said, the injury report isn't really showing a whole lot going on here. Tobias Harris is out for Detroit, but I think that's been the case for a long time. And the Knicks, Josh Hart is out. He's been out for a while too, but obviously that would not affect the line. That would not make the line go up on the Knicks. It probably wouldn't move the line at all, in fact. So the odds makers are telling you, like right in plain sight here, they're telling you the Knicks are actually the better team here, enough so that they're a road favorite in this one. So for me, lean to the Knicks. Next up, best bet time. Let's go. Now, I don't know. This is the one that I agree with Saab on this one, but I kind of like a couple of these other plays maybe better than this one. I think the next one after this, I think I like better than this one, but who knows? I don't know how to weigh the strength of these sometimes, but I am with Saab on this one. We're going to fade my Boston Celtics here. Hopefully I know my Celtics. Like I said, I know them. We're going to take the Chicago Bulls here plus the points. Now, the Celtics are good. Like, who would have thought the Celtics would be a half game out of first place this deep into the season right now with no Jason Tatum? What the Celtics are doing is crazy, dude. They still have a lot of roster depth. Jaylen Brown he's becoming like the guy. Like, he's been able to do it. These role players that they have been good. Gonzalez, who was their first draft pick this year, late in the first round or whatever, he is putting in a ton of effort, dude. Like, that guy doesn't show up on the stat sheet because he doesn't score a lot, but if you watch what that guy's doing out there, he's going after every ball. He's playing really, really intense, man, like just on defense and going after rebounds. Yeah, it's crazy. So that guy, I think he was a good draft pick by the Celtics, and he fits their mentality as well. Celtics have gone up to an 11.5-point favorite from 9. I don't know how much weight to put into these numbers right now. Those 76% of the tickets, 81% of the cash on them. I think we might see the market move around to agree with me throughout the day because I think the only way you can look at this is that it's not a good spot for the Celtics. And I think it is a decent spot for the Bulls as well because the Bulls just lost at home 112-99 to the Charlotte Hornets. That's awful, dude. So one of the best things you can do when you have a bad loss at home, forget about it. Go out on the road. And also, they were kind of in a bad spot if you think about it. They're on a back-to-back. They beat Orlando, who's probably a playoff team, the game before that. And they had Boston and Detroit and Miami all up next. So that was a sandwich spot. So I think you can kind of explain why it was a horrible performance from the Bulls there. Now a day off, going on the road. I know it's a third game in 4 days, but the first two were both at home. Again, coming off a horrible loss at home, 1 day off, starting a road trip. You should be focused for all those reasons. You want to get the road trip off on the right foot. Obviously, you're going to focus when you're playing the Boston Celtics and they're playing well right now, the Celtics are. And again, coming off a horrendous loss, all of those things look positive for the Bulls. And for the Celtics, I think it's not a good spot, as the Celtics actually only had one day off yesterday, but they're returning off from a road trip, man. After Christmas, they've been on the road since then. They went to Indiana and then out to the Pacific Coast to Portland. They came back to Utah in elevation, then back to the Pacific Coast again to Sacramento and then LA to the Clippers. And the Celtics had a very successful road trip. They only dropped the game in Portland, won all the rest of the games. So I told you it was going to be a somewhat easy road trip and that the Celtics better at least go above 500 on that against all those pretty weak opponents. They did. Successful road trip achieved. They won 4 out of the 5 games. Now they're back at home, and they get this Chicago team that's been middling at best. They're below 500 now. And then, oh, yeah, the Celtics turn around, and on Wednesday they get the Denver Nuggets on ESPN, although it's without Jokic, but that is still a huge game, playing Denver on ESPN, televised game. So I think this is bad for a bunch of reasons. Of course, the return home spot means the Celtics could be distracted. Coming back home, they got to get stuff done at home, get back to home life. They might not totally focus on a Bulls team that's just not really that good. And with the look-ahead spot as well, potentially to Denver. And then they do play Toronto, San Antonio after that. So 3 games against better opponents right now than Chicago is. And the TV game aspect of the next game. Horrible spot for the Celtics. Maybe I do like this one more than I let on. I don't know. I like it, obviously. It's on my card. We'll take the points with the Bulls in this one. And I don't know if it's any sort of indicator, if we could read anything into it, but I think the last time I was at a Celtics game was in the middle of last season. It was the Bulls at the Celtics, and the Bulls beat them outright. It was like right before Christmas. And the refs screwed the Celtics, but the Celtics came nowhere close to covering the number in that game. The Bulls played them really tough, so I don't know if this is going to be a repeat of that or not, but the line was around where this one is, even though it was the Celtics with Jason Tatum. And that was the game where Joe Mazzulla was yelling at the refs, and then and they made some bad calls at the end of the game. And then in the press conference, they asked him what he said to the ref, and he was like, I was just wishing him a Merry Christmas. Didn't think I was going to see him again before the holidays. I was like, dude, he's so funny. Oh, man. Mazzulla, man. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. The way he's coaching the team this year, yeah, I mean, you can't argue with it. Even though I liked Udoka, and he's doing well, I think, with Houston right now. Didn't think they should have gotten rid of him. But Mazzulla, he's got his own thing going, and I think he's hilarious in press conferences, too. So we're on the side of Joe, man. Also, Joe is in coffee because I'm constantly pounding that. Atlanta at Toronto. This game I don't have as much of a feel for. This is actually this is a potential zigzag, though, because these teams just played on Saturday, and I gave you guys a play on Toronto on Saturday because Atlanta had just upset Minnesota and the Knicks at back-to-back games, and I think Toronto was coming off some ugly performance, so I said go with Toronto. We got an easy win with Toronto, but now that Toronto won that game by 17, I could definitely see this argument for the zigzag here where the line is about the same, though, so the odds makers haven't really adjusted because it was Raptors 3.5 in that game I gave out. It's still 3.5, 3 here. But I still think you might be looking at a spot where Atlanta was so bad in that last game that they're the team that has adjustments to make. And if you're Toronto, like, what do you really have to fix, right? You don't have a whole lot to fix here because everything worked for you in that last game. Now, one thing to be aware of is what's going on with the injury report here. Trae Young looks like he's still out, so it shouldn't be an issue. And I've heard some stuff like, I don't know if Trae Young's really injured or not. Like, it seems like when he plays, the team just doesn't do as well. I mean, look at all these losses. They lost the last 5 games that he played. They actually, all the games that he's played this year, they've lost 8 out of 10. Or, yeah, is that right? Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, because the rest of this is preseason. So Atlanta might even actually be better without Young in the lineup. It seems like he might be disruptive to their chemistry, even though he's their most talented player. It's crazy to think about. I would lean to the Hawks here if I was going to give out a play on this. I think they will make some adjustments and put in a better performance this time. Neither team really has a look ahead, I don't think, or anything like that. So there isn't really any other situational aspect to look at. Hold on. Yeah, Toronto plays Charlotte next. Who cares? But still, I think the zigzag might be the only real factor in this game. 60% of tickets, 90% of the cash are on the Raptors, though, for whatever reason. But I would lean, obviously I'm leaning to the Hawks in that one, but it's not a play for me. Next up is the next play that I have, because I got a bunch of them in the NBA. Like I said, we're going to lay it with Houston, -8.5, even though, yes, Phoenix, obviously, in the best of circumstances, they should get up for a game against Houston, but look at the scheduling spot that Phoenix is in, man. I just don't see how they're going to be able to do this. Phoenix beat Oklahoma City yesterday. Oklahoma City is the team in the NBA, man. Like, I don't see how anybody's going to knock out Oklahoma City in like a 7-game series. Yeah, they lose individual games, but they're so good that it's a huge achievement when you beat them. And not only did Phoenix beat them, but that was yesterday. Phoenix beat them. So yeah, even though I know they're starting a road trip here, they're on a back-to-back, playing a 3rd game in 4 days. Actually, a 4th game in 6 days, 5th game in 8 days, 6th game in 10 days, and 7th game in 11 days, actually, with a bunch of those games being on the road to start out. So they have not really had a whole lot of rest here. Coming off that huge game, I just think they won't have a whole lot left in the tank, man. I think they're in trouble in this game, and they're traveling from Phoenix to Houston. I know technically they're starting a road trip, but again, horrible spot with no time off. A very substantial lack of rest here, I should say. And having to travel and coming off their biggest win of the year. And I think Houston is going to show up and be angry. Houston technically is returning home, but they only went to Brooklyn on Thursday, and then they were back in Texas, although I know Dallas isn't that close to Houston, but they were in Dallas, and they lost the game, man. I know sometimes I'll talk about how you lose a win streak, it'll hang you over, but Houston, they were on a 4-game win streak, but I think it's more likely they're going to show up for this game before they go back out on the road. I know these 1-game homestands can be tricky, and usually I want to go against a team when they have to get stuff done at home, but they haven't been away for very long at all, and they're already in Texas, so I think it is a positive. I think they saw what Phoenix just did to Oklahoma City, and they will be on notice. So I think Houston is the right approach in this game. I think they're going to be in a bounce-back spot, kind of an ugly loss at Dallas. Houston had to have been a favorite in that game on the road. So when it comes down to it, you have the Suns in a major letdown spot of a giant win as a big underdog, versus Houston coming off an ugly loss as a pretty decent-sized favorite. Houston's got to be the side here. 60% of tickets, 64% of the cash on them for now. Maybe the public will be slightly on the Houston side as well, but I think it's the right side. I think the actual money will come in on Houston as well. So this one, you might not get a better number on this one as the day progresses. We'll see. Sometimes I'm not good at predicting where the number is going to move, though. I'm just trying to jump on the situation as I see it, and that's just how I do it. And, couple that with the market read and stuff like that. But the Rockets are up from 8.5 to 9 now, but I think you'd probably still find 8.5s right now. So that is that play. And I just still have one more. Now, Charlotte is at Oklahoma City here. Charlotte, as I already mentioned, they're coming off an upset of Chicago. Now, obviously, they're not going to overlook Oklahoma City, but they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, 4th game in 6 days, all in different cities. Coming off a pretty nice upset win. I just don't know what they're going to have left in the tank here for Oklahoma City, man. And they might encounter an angry Oklahoma City team that's coming off a loss. Oklahoma City is technically returning home from a road trip, but they did go to the Pacific Coast, but it was just Friday, Sunday. So a 2-game road trip, not exactly a long road trip. I know they're on a back-to-back, a 3rd game in 4 days in different cities, but they don't really have anything big upcoming. To me, I think they're going to show up in this game. This Oklahoma City team has a ton of depth. I guess you have to see if Hartenstein is back from injury or whatever, but they just have so many players, man. They don't do that badly a lot of times in the back-to-back. I think in this game, it's either you lay the price with the Thunder or you leave the game alone. That would be my opinion in this game. They're 15.5 point favorite here. Yeah, my opinion would be that. Lay the points or don't play the game as far as the side is concerned. A scheduled loss spot. I don't know. I don't think the Hornets are just going to... You think they might rest people? I mean, the Thunder are the team that's in the back-to-back, though. The Hornets are not. I don't think the Hornets are going to rest their guys in this game. I just think they won't be able to... I just think they won't be able to cover in the game. Like, they just won't have enough left in the tank to do it. That would be my opinion there. And I think Oklahoma City is going to show up with focus. Yeah, Oklahoma City. And they don't really have a lot of names. Like, everybody knows SGA, and I guess Holmgren and stuff. But this Oklahoma City team, they have a lot of names that are not household names. And they're doing it. And they have a lot of depth. Yeah, and it's with these guys that people could not name these guys. It's pretty crazy. All right. Next up, this is the one that's almost on my card. Denver at Philadelphia. Denver is coming off losing to Brooklyn yesterday. Horrible loss for Denver. And, of course, we got that right on the show. Denver had played close against Cleveland the game before that. They had Philly and Boston coming up next. I thought it was a spot where they were going to overlook the Nets. Finally feel that Jokic injury coming into play. It happened. They got killed. But now because that happened, they should be in a bit of a better spot here coming off that loss because nobody wants to lose by double digits to Brooklyn, man. But I have some issues with it where I can't quite get there with Denver. I don't know if we should worry a little bit about the fact they do have that TV game on Wednesday against Boston. I don't know that they're really going to overlook Philly, but they are playing a lot of games in quick succession here. They're on a back-to-back with travel, although it's only New York to Philly here, but they're playing a third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, fifth game in 8 days, sixth game in 10 days, and seventh game in 12 days, going all the way back to the Christmas game. So they played a very packed schedule. And even before that, what is that, 9 games in 15 days, 9 games in 14 days, whatever. So Denver really has not had a whole lot of rest. They're a little bit thin roster-wise because I think they're still without Aaron Gordon and obviously without Jokic now. So I do have my concerns with it. Obviously, they're going to be a huge underdog, though, because of those circumstances. Philadelphia is coming off a big win over the Knicks. Huge upset win. They looked awesome in the game. And they're returning home from a road trip. Philadelphia's been on the road since Friday, December 26th. They went to Chicago, OKC, Memphis, Dallas, New York. Now, I know the trip back from New York is short, but it is still a return home spot, man. So it's a spot where maybe the team could be distracted. But is Philadelphia going to overlook Denver with Washington next? I tend to not think so. I mean, Denver is clearly the bigger of those two games, even without Jokic in the lineup. But I still could see this being a bad spot for Philly, like a letdown spot off the Knicks game. It is a return home spot. So I have my concerns with it, but a lot of things do line up the way that I handicap things towards playing the Nuggets in this game. And that is the way that I would lean in this game. This is, if I was going to add a game to my card, it would be this one. It would be the Nuggets plus the points. They're an 11.5-point dog. 79% of tickets on the Sixers. 62% of the cash coming back on the Nuggets. So do with that information what you want to. Although, is the public really coming in on the Sixers to that degree, though? Like, does the public really want to lay double digits with the Sixers? I don't know if they do. I mean, it just looks like such a crazy number, even though we do know that Jokic is out. But it's been a crazy adjustment in the number to that. Plus, I think the number is probably factoring in the Nuggets' lack of rest situation here as well. I like the Nuggets plus the points in that one. I think there is some value there, and the spot mostly sets up really nicely for it, but I can't quite get there with that one for the concerns that I raised. Golden State is at the LA Clippers. I almost just said LA. They're at the Clippers. Golden State just got trounced by the Celtics, man. Or excuse me, the Clippers did. What am I saying? The Clippers got trounced by the Celtics during that Celtic road trip. The Clippers, streaky team that won 6 games in a row. Now they lost that streak. Now, do they continue losing? Do they have a loss streak coming on here? Do they feel a loss streak coming on here? Maybe, because I talk about when a team loses a win streak, especially in a game they probably get up for mentally, they do tend to have a little bit of a lapse after that, and they do lose focus. Now, I don't know that Golden State is really a team that you're going to overlook, but they do play the Knicks next, so that almost sounded like knick-knack. Maybe they'll get patty-whacked in this game. I don't know. To me, it kind of looks like mostly a negative spot, though, even though usually you'd say when you lose by 31 at home, you're going to be angry and bounce back from it, but I think it could be a lose the same game twice situation when you have a long win streak ended like that. Their win streak had started prior to Christmas. Now, for Golden State, they just beat Utah. No real big deal there. They're going out on the road now for a single game against the Clippers. They don't exactly have huge games upcoming here, even though they get Milwaukee with Giannis back. in the next game. But I think the spot actually does set up a little bit better for Golden State in this game. That would be my opinion. The money seems to agree with that. -1.5. They're down from -1.5 to -1, but 64% of the tickets, 95% of the cash on the Warriors. So I agree with the Warriors in this one. They won't be able to keep up with OKC. Yeah, I agree with that. The Warriors next on the schedule. What are we talking about here? The Warriors are I don't what are you saying, Saab? I don't get it. 2 days rest, game versus OKC, who beat them. What are we talking about? 2 times. Oh, the Warriors rested their players against Oklahoma City. Yeah, but maybe they figured they wouldn't beat Oklahoma City anyway. So maybe that was a scheduled loss for them, basically. So, oh my God, tanking. Tanking is still not a thing, but yes, there are certain situations where, yes, in the NBA, the Greg Popovich phenomenon is a thing where teams will pick rest spots to rest their players, but they're doing that because they think it's better in the long run. It's like a future-oriented thing. So I don't know. I think the reason why the Warriors just aren't that good, though, is just because they're just an old team. And, yeah, that's about it. I'm not a fan of Steve Kerr, though. Like, I don't know. I think he's an idiot politically and whatever. He goes out there and politically grandstands. Fuck Steve Kerr. Kind of sucks because I used to watch the Bulls and, I liked Michael Jordan, whatever. Kerr was on that team, but whatever. Maybe Michael Jordan was right to hit Steve Kerr, if you guys know that story. There was some altercation between the two, and he hit Steve Kerr to basically toughen him up. Michael Jordan, baby. All right, the last game, you know where I'm going with this. The last game, I do have a play here. We are going to take the points with the Utah Jazz here, plus the 6. I know I prefer taking Utah at home, but we're talking about a Portland team that's really not that great of a team, obviously, right now. And Portland is still without Grant and Holiday, it looks like, until at least the next game. So I think we're still looking at this thin-rostered Portland team here. Utah, I know they're without Kessler, is that his name? Whatever. He's obviously out for the season, but that's been the case for a while. Utah, they've been okay at times, and of course they've lost 3 games in a row now, but I think they're going to be focused on this game, man, because when you're on a losing streak, you've lost both games on the road so far, I think you're going to show up and try to win a game. And they're not going to win against Oklahoma City in the next game, but I don't think this is going to be a look ahead. I think they're going to show up and try to win against Portland here. Now, Utah staying in the Pacific time zone, going from Northern California up to Portland, not a horrible travel situation for them. I think they have 1 day off there as well. Portland, they're returning home from a road trip, and I know it's not a long road trip. It was from Wednesday through Saturday, but they went to Oklahoma City, New Orleans, and then they finished the road trip by beating San Antonio. So I'm not using the road trip return as the primary factor in this one, like I kind of am with the Celtics, because this is a shorter road trip, but it is still a form of road trip return, so that you might be a little bit distracted, having to get back to home life. And they're coming off beating San Antonio on the road, man. That was a monster upset win for Portland. Now, I don't know did Wemba play in this game or did he not? No, I think he was out. He got hurt, so that was one thing I forgot to mention, by the way, with the Spurs. They were in an injured player theory spot, right? Let me see. Oh, no, I guess they were in the injured player theory spot against Indiana, I guess. Yeah, because Wemby got hurt in the Knicks game. My mistake, by the way. I forgot to mention the injured player theory spot for the Spurs was the game at Indiana. So I forgot to factor that into the handicap, but I didn't give out a play in the game anyway. So my apologies, though. I did forget that. But yes, so Portland beat the Spurs without Wemby, but that's still a huge win, man. An upset win on the road against a good Spurs team. So they are coming off of that, plus the small return home spot. And they face this Utah team. It's really easy to overlook. And then who does Portland play next? They play Houston twice, and then New York and Golden State. So all of those games are bigger games than this one against Utah. So this is a sandwich spot that the Trailblazers are in. So, yeah, we're blazing the trail here to a play on the Utah Jazz. That's what we're doing. Looking at the injury report, we do have a couple of game-time decisions with Nurkic and Bailey here. Bailey, dude, I liked Bailey at Rutgers, man. I think he's a guy that he comes in, he serves a nice, role player type of role, I guess if you want to call it that right now. But we'll see how good he can be, man. But hopefully these guys play for our purposes. Utah does need Nurkic a bit because they need more big men. They need big bodies, man. That's what they need in this one. I'll give you a drop. Why not?
True Blood and Joseph. That's a very physical. I love watching plays like that. I know you like all those bubble screens and 300.
That's right. That's right.
I love to see big bodies bang.
Man, that is an old clip, man. The running back there for the Buccaneers was LeGarrette Blount back then. He was a blunt instrument, man. That guy was pretty sizable. Big dude. He was like, not quite like Jerome Bettis, the boss, but he was big. And yes, like I said, Holiday and Grant are still out for Portland, so that's been the case for a long time, but that thins out their roster a bit. And it looks like they might get Robert Williams back in the paint there, paint presence. He's good in the paint, but we don't know how he's going to be with a bad knee. Like, he's going to be like the poor man's version of Joel Embiid here. I don't know. I like Williams, though, man. I liked him when he was on the Celtics. Like, I don't know. I loved having that big kind of physical big man. Their big bodies banging. Yeah, that's what I liked. But overall, yes, horrible spot for Portland, I think. We're going to take the Jazz in this game. Hopefully, we're going to be playing some Jazz music in this one. Hopefully, Nurkic plays so we can kind of counter Robert Williams III coming back. But either way, I like the Jazz. The money seems like it's agreeing. Probably could have gotten the Blazers at 7 at some point. I never saw it. I know it's a key number-ish in basketball, but I think we're still okay taking the points here. 6 is the number that I see. 78% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Jazz. I don't really see the Jazz being a public side, really. Like, what public bettor is going to come in and play the Jazz? I don't know. I don't really see it. They have the worst record, obviously. I know the Jazz aren't great on the road. Like I said, they're better at home, but 4-11 on the road. I know it's not good, but the Blazers have not been exactly great at home either. It's 7-9 straight up. So, and we're not even asking the Jazz to win. We just need them to cover. So, go Jazz. Oh, that's what I need. I need the Celtic pride clips. Whatever that Dan Aykroyd quote is from that movie, where they're forced to root for the Jazz to stay out of prison after they kidnapped the Jazz star player. Looking very good, very fresh. Go Jazz. Whatever the line was there, dude. I need to get that clip, and I need to get the Utah sucks. Utah sucks. Another movie that I'm an extra in, by the way, Celtic Pride. If you slow it down, I think you could see me as a kid with my dad there. We were extras for that movie. I love that movie, man. I don't know what to say. It's a stupid comedy. People hate it, but it's ridiculous. If you haven't seen it before, it's Dan Aykroyd and Daniel Stern with bad, like, fake Boston accents. Really, Dan Aykroyd is the only one trying to do one. And they are crazed Celtics fans during the NBA Finals, and they sort of unwittingly wind up kidnapping the best player of the Utah Jazz after a night of drunkenness where they were really just trying to get him drunk so that he wouldn't be able to play well the next day, and they wind up kidnapping him, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. Crazy movie, funny movie. Judd Apatow actually had some involvement in that movie. Say what you want to about him, but he... he has some decent comedies, so there is that. Next day, they barely beat the Jazz, yes. You agree with those plays. All right, Saab, here we go. That's going to do it, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Monday, it's small board, but the card is somewhat substantial here. We got college basketball. We got Ohio State minus the points in that one, or if you want to go money line, you can, because... I think value-wise with the number, you're really teetering on the edge there, but I think it just has to be a play, man. Has to be it based on the situation, and the situation coupled with the unranked favorite versus ranked underdog situation, which worked out really well last year. But I don't blindly play those, right? Like, I'm doing it based on that plus it being the situation. Then NHL, we're on Utah. It's a very Utah day today. NBA, we're on the Bulls plus the points. Rockets minus the points, and Jazz plus the points. And I did have a lean to the Nuggets plus the points as well, which if I was going to add another play today, it would be that one. But I have my concerns about it. So that's going to do it. I appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me there like Jeffrey. You get to be in a group chat with us. It's not active at the moment, but once more subscribers come in, it'll be a more fun time. We got that. Learn to Toad on Instagram for my short form version of this content. We got, obviously, subscribe here on the channel, YouTube. Let's bump this channel up, baby. Pump it up. Dude, that's what I need the Elvis Costello song. Pump it up. Yeah, we need to get that going on. It'll be a copyright strike unless I use like 10 seconds of it or whatever. We're on audio as well. You can listen and review on audio. That helps me out as well on Apple and Spotify. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out as well. We got patreon.com/learntotode. I got some decent Patreon support. I appreciate all you guys. I'm going to have to start handling these Uke requests, man. It's not going to be that easy. Once I feel the holiday days being over, I'm going to try to get to that. I know Charles has 3. Those are going to trickle in slowly if I'm able to do them. I got another request. I got requests from a new guy, so I got to do at least one of his probably first. I'm going to try to do it. We'll see if I can, but hopefully people are okay with me taking my time on these because, especially when I have to learn a song that I don't know that well, that takes. If I know the song, I'm gonna do it a lot quicker. So, like White Christmas, I know the song. I just never played it on Uke before, but because I know the song, it was easier. So I did that for Charles. I'm ranting. I know this is supposed to be the plug segment. I'm turning into Austin Picard or whatever. 10-minute plugs where I just sidetrack myself a million times. But yes, patreon.com/learntotode for the bonus Uke stuff. Check out the loser cast. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow night probably. We'll see who won the biggest loser this past week. We had a lot of people up for vote this week, and I had probably at least 4 suggestions in there, so hopefully one of mine was a winner. I don't know. I kind of forget. I had Stephon Diggs as one of them for the sports people there. I think I might have had 2 sports-related ones, actually. I forget. I definitely had him up there, and I can't remember if I had another one or not. Yeah, that's about it. I was on Gray Pilled last night with Jules. It's a conspiracy-themed podcast, although it was more of a kind of hangout interview type of thing because I'm not totally in the conspiracy thing, but we talked about various conspiracy-related things, political conspiracies. We talked about supernatural stuff. We talked about all kinds of things, man. Flat Earth, Hollow Earth. We talked about ghosts, UFOs. Yeah, just all different types of things. So you can go check that out as well. And I will be on... I apologize. I keep forgetting the name of the show. Let me see if I can get it up here because I can't remember the name of the show. I'm going to be on a show on Wednesday night, which is going to be... what's the name of the show? Let me see. It is... Dude, here it is. It's with these guys, Mark and Jake. The name of the show is something with whiskey, I think. If by Whiskey, I think is the name of the show. Is that right? I'm going to be on that show on Wednesday. Yeah, If by Whiskey is the name of it. You can find that. They have some pretty big guests on that show, man, although I apologize for not really knowing that much about the show, but that's the show I'm going to be on Wednesday night. I don't know exactly what time it is, but there will be some tweets about it, I'm sure, as well, or whatever. And if you follow them, it's probably, I would imagine it's on YouTube and whatever, so that's the show I'll be on Wednesday. That's going to do it, man. Texans are not playing on the afternoon on Saturday. Yeah, they're playing the Monday night game, I think, right, against the Steelers. So that's, yeah, I don't know. That might be one of the games that makes my card. I don't know yet. Gray Pill. It's the Gray Pill. I think the Gray Pill just, refers to, like, it's like any of the other pills where it's a form of thinking in a certain way or understanding it. I think the Gray Pill just basically means that you're conspiracy pilled, essentially. Like you understand the conspiracies, man. Like you're able to see beyond like what people perceive as reality. Yeah, not that kind of jewel, but yes. Jeffrey, you're rooting for the Eagles. They actually have a decent shot. So that's the other thing I should say. I'm going to do, of course, I will have to do a special where I fill out my NFL bracket. That will come soon. That might be tonight. I don't know. It'll happen one of these days. And I think I'm going to have Clint back on for a new edition of Bald, where we're going to, because I mentioned it on the Tower Gang New Year's Day. Check that out, by the way, if you didn't see it. It wasn't really Tower Gang, but Clint wanted to do a stream, and it wound up being just him, me, and then Tyler, drunk and studioless. We did a Tower Gang New Year's show, so you can go check that out. I had to take it down from the YouTube, but it is still on the Rumble, so you can go check that out. That was on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. So if people missed that, it was a bit all over the place, but the Tower Gang fans probably enjoy it. A little bit of nostalgia there. And yeah, so I did mention with Clint there that, yeah, we should do an episode of Bald, do the NFL playoff predictions. So I think we will do that. We got to do it this week at some point before the weekend. So I'll talk to Clint and figure out when we want to do that. It'll be one of the nights this week, although I may do my personal bracket special. I may do prior to that, though. So you already know my thinking probably before that, but I don't know. That's kind of just the way that it is. And like I said, I want to start doing bracketology shows, and I think Monday is a good day to do them. So I don't know, man. I'm almost considering maybe doing it in the afternoon today. I got to think about it, or I could do it tonight and do the NFL, like filling out my bracket tonight too, because that show's not going to be very long. So, and then I don't know how the bracketology is going to go, but I'm just obsessed with bracketology. So I might have a subset of this channel where I'm just talking about bracketology and stuff, because it's the new year, man. March Madness. Every conference is beginning conference play as of today, I think. So I think the Ivy is the last one to start. So we're into it, man. We're into the interesting stretch of college basketball here, and I start getting excited, trying to figure out who these teams are. So be on the lookout for it. Of course, another reason to subscribe to the channel here, and then you'll get the notifications when I'm about to go live, because I know I go live at somewhat weird time. I'm mostly predictable, but not entirely. So that will help out. You'll see the notification come, and then usually, like, the notification will come, and I'll put the thing out, and then it will, like, you know, like I'll create the stream, and then I'll be still setting stuff up and whatever. So usually I'm not starting it immediately after you get the notification, but yeah. All right, I'm ranting. Thanks, guys. Let's get some wins today, and peace for now. Be on the lookout tonight, though, because I probably will be back with at least something tonight. Peace.